of you that don't know, I'm TC, founder and originator of the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment podcast, MBRR. And while I'm waiting for everyone to get notification that I'm live, I'm just going to do some of the ancillary self-shilling that we all do these days when we have YouTube channels. If you like the content, make sure you're subscribing to the content. If you like the information that you're getting, also hit the like button. And then, on top of that, share it out. Make sure that everybody is getting notifications for this stuff. And if you really like the content and you want to continue to help me produce this content, head on over to the membership tab on my channel and make sure that you are picking a membership level so that you can follow me and get inside scoop stuff, because here pretty soon we're going to be having some videos, body cam footage videos from the Minnesota City of Rochester Police Department from about a year and a half ago, and we're going to have some interesting stuff with that on the behind the scenes. It'll be there behind the scenes for members only for a little while, and then we might open it up to everyone else after the members have had time to enjoy it. So make sure you are. Oh, hey, thank you, Flying Auditor, for becoming a new member. I really appreciate that. You have no idea how much that helps me. It helps a lot, actually. And if those of you who are new to this, Flying Auditor is a big supporter of the auditing community and the veterans community, and he is above the pale when it comes to what he's willing to do and sacrifice for the veterans and for the auditing community. And he's got this just super giving heart. He reminds me of a less cranky version of the angry vet, to be honest with you. We won't let the angry vet know that there's somebody out there with his heart as big as his, because Tav has an incredibly big heart, and he would give the shirt off of his back to fellow veterans especially, and then other people who are experiencing injustice. So thanks so much for the membership on that one there, Flying Auditor. And other people follow his example, and it's a really low level entry, and I think you guys are going to enjoy some of the stuff you're going to see behind the scenes. And so while I'm building this up, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm working with a Freedom Ranch here in the state of Minnesota, in communication with them to tell their story about what they're doing for vets and why they have chosen to do what they're doing for vets. We're going to be having them on to talk pretty soon, and the rigmarole that the state of Minnesota is putting them through, basically after they spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of their own money to put a place together for vets and did this wonderful work for the environment, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has stepped in and has begun to persecute them. And it's really screwing over their ability to help vets. So we're going to be having them on very soon, probably within the next week to 2 weeks, to talk about their story and get it out there. And as I'm getting ready to roll into the topic of conversation for this Drive Time Dialectic, I wanted to let you guys know that I did my least favorite thing in the world today. No, it's not being right. I actually, when it comes to being right, I'm getting kind of tired of it, to be honest with you. And that probably sounds arrogant, but after a while, you can only be right so many times before you just... you can only be right so many times, right? Before you just said, I can't handle this anymore. It's actually kind of scary. So, yeah. So we're going to be breaking into that story, but please share this out. Please let other people know. And this is in the vein, what I'm saying is in the vein of what I was saying last night. I really need your guys' help to start to hold the Minnesota Rochester, Minnesota Police Department accountable for their malfeasance. Greg, you're saying low volume. That's odd. Well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just getting old and I cannot project anymore. So I have all my windows up. Yeah, maybe it's you. It might be you. But anywho, share this out. Help me bring attention to the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department, and let's get down to the nitty-gritty, folks. As you're tuning in, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of why I'm doing another drive time dialectic for the third time this week. So yesterday, many of you are aware, I told the story of how the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department and how they responded to a call for a man in a public walkway, skyway, walkway, subway, area. Not a subway like train car subway, but it's a walkway. They call it the subway. And they responded to this man who had depantsed himself and was fondling his extremities in front of hundreds of people as they walked through this area. And they cited him on scene and released him because it was a misdemeanor. And cerebral dialectics by TC. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the nod towards intelligence there. But yeah, anyway, the Rochester Police Department has this guy in custody. They catch him red-handed, if you will. They catch him with the evidence of his crime in his hand. They cite him for a misdemeanor lewd behavior and escort him off the property. Now, if you remember, I said the kind of behavior that allows a person to go into public and to fondle oneself in front of complete strangers is normally brought on by what most of us would call a mental health problem, right? It's clearly a disorder or an mental illness of some sort. And so I'm saying this person is going to victimize other people, right? I said this yesterday. I very clearly said this is escalating behavior. He shows up in public, masturbates in front of people in public. Rochester Police Department, instead of arresting him, securing him, and doing the right thing, they let him go. They let him go. So last night, as I'm telling you guys this story about what happened yesterday morning on the 22nd, today's the 23rd, right? Yeah. As on the morning of the 22nd, this happens. They let the guy go. Last night, yesterday evening of the 23rd, while I'm telling you guys about this and predicting this guy's future behavior, Rochester, Minnesota Police Department gets a call for a man at the top of the 2nd Street parking ramp with his pants down around his ankles, masturbating. Once again, they arrive on scene, catch him with the evidence of his crime in his hand. It's the same guy. It's the same guy. Not even a full 12 hours later, the guy they let go in the morning was back at it again in the evening. I told everyone this guy was escalating, that his behavior was ramping up. I could not know, I had no way of knowing that as his behavior ramped up, that he would go to a ramp to ramp up his behavior. I just there's no way I could know these things. So to their credit, when Rochester PD showed up last night at the 5 o'clock hour, they did arrest him finally and take him into custody and held him for court. I haven't had a chance yet to look into this gentleman, and I'm using that term obviously very loosely, to find out who he is, or whether or not he got in front of a judge today and what the judge's decision was, if he was going to hold him for court, hold him for an evaluation, if they were going to, release him on a bond of some sort. But folks, Rochester, Minnesota has a track record now, a proven track record of making very poor decisions with sexual predators. And I told everyone yesterday, and this is why I need your guys' help to make this story go big. I need these videos to go out into the community so that people can help me begin to bring pressure to bear on the Rochester, Minnesota City Council, on the Rochester, Minnesota Mayor, on the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department, and the Chief of Police. Like, something has got to change. Something has got to change. This has been going on. And I'm going to say, let's say it's been a minimum of 2 years, right? If we go back to Deputy Matt Adamson and my friend Chase Johnston from Hard Road TV on YouTube, and if somebody could find his link, one of the moderators, if you could find his link and put Chase's video in, or channel in there, that would be great. But I've had Chase on to talk about his work exposing predators, and I use that word very selectively. I selected that word on purpose. Hey, Elva Carl, it's good to see you back, man. Wait, our flasher was cranking one out too? Yeah, yesterday morning he was cranking it out. The flasher wasn't just flashing, he was cranking it out yesterday morning. Got released, and then went and did it again last night. I told everybody he was going to do this. I told everybody he was, and I know you guys knew this, believe it. But I'm not on scene, and I know this guy's going to do it again. And people can sit here and say things like, "Oh, well, it's easy for you to say, you're Monday morning quarterbacking this." I'm like, no, I'm telling you, on scene, he should have very much gone to prison or gone to jail. And you guys know how I feel about just stupid arrests. This is not a stupid arrest situation. He deserved to go to jail for this. He deserves his day in court, but he also deserves to be locked up. What he did was victimizing people. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So yeah, last night he goes out, he does it. He goes out and does it again. Finally gets arrested. And I know that a lot of you that have been watching my channel, and newcomers to my subscriber base, fans, friends, hate watchers, a lot of you have heard this story over and over again. But this is where I'm going with this. Something has got to change in Rochester, Minnesota Police Department's policy. Something has got to change, and I need you guys' help to bring some pressure on them. They have to come up with something. When you go back, like I said, 2 years, and I took a different route today, which I hate doing. I hate the route I'm on now, but this way we should have full reception all the way home. 2 years or more, this has been going on. Almost 2 years ago, over 2 years ago now, I think, Chase catches a deputy from the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office under the leadership of Sheriff Kevin Torgerson. Deputy Matt Adamson catches the man trying to meet with underage girls for sex in exchange for alcohol. Turns that over to the Rochester Police Department. They take a look at the evidence and determine there's nothing there. Fast forward a year and a half, Deputy Matt Adamson gets caught in a sting. Last week we found out that for a fact, we knew for a fact before, but now we have a news agency reporting on it. Now the news agency is even saying Rochester PD admits that they had the evidence. They chose not to do anything with it, basically because they didn't like it. We know for a fact that the sheriff's office had the evidence and didn't do anything with it. And the sheriff of Olmsted County has yet to apologize to the people of Olmsted County for his failure. Hey, Brandon Mitchell, thanks for tuning in. Guys, please, if you will, share this out. I know most of you do anyway. But, so we've got them failing with a deputy. Now, last summer, Chase catches another predator in his own predator catching sting operation. This guy has done time in prison for molesting children. Got out after doing a long stretch. Meets Chase, thinking he's meeting with an underage boy. He's on the predator, the sex offender registry list. The predator calls Rochester, Minnesota Police Department. Rochester, Minnesota Police Department shows up. Sergeant Ben Schlag arrests Chase. Now, an interesting side note, Sergeant Ben Schlag is also a sergeant, and my body cam footage from him will be going up as well very soon in the membership channel, or in the membership options for you guys. So if you really want to see this stuff, membership's going to be the way to see it here for at least the first few months. Ben Schlag, when I called to request that charges be pressed against the University of Minnesota president in Rochester, who put his hands on me and tried to take my video equipment away from me when I was there to film and shoot video of an event, of a town hall being put on by local elected servants for their constituents, they tried to keep the conservative part, libertarian part of the crowd out because they had signs, and they didn't want signs at their event, even though they had people inside that were wearing t-shirts with slogans and everything on it that were in favor of the leftists that they were there to see. The university president literally made physical contact, uninvited physical contact with me, literally tried to grab equipment and push it, take it out of my hand, and Sergeant Ben Schlag threatened to press charges against me for filing a false police report if I chose to press charges on the university president. I have the audio of that. I have his body cam footage of that taking place. Schlag, who's threatening me with charges when I believe I was assaulted. And I can't afford to fight these things. I don't have the money for attorney. So I just said whatever, because I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. They weren't going to pursue it no matter what I did, and I was going to end up being the one getting charged. Now we have Ben Schlag arresting Chase last summer and filing trumped up charges against Chase for felony stalking. First it was false imprisonment, and then it was felony stalking. Just trying. So now they let a deputy go a year and a half to victimize other people. They let a sexual predator go and arrest the person who caught and exposed a sexual predator. And now yesterday they let a sexual predator go. And I told you he was going to reoffend. And what did he do? He immediately reoffended last night in the evening. Something has got to happen in Rochester. And nobody in Rochester, outside of a very, very small handful of people, is willing to help me shed light on this story. The media is not shedding light on this story. The media doesn't want to touch this. The media is in the pocket of Mayo Clinic. The media is in the pocket of what's left of IBM here. The media is in the pocket of the Olmsted County government. The media is in the pocket of the Rochester, Minnesota government. The media doesn't want to talk about these things. They are not telling any of these stories. The mainstream media, they'll touch on it for a minute, but then they'll also use like disparaging comments about people like Chase and refer to him as vigilante because the Olmsted County attorney has labeled Chase a vigilante. The reason vigilantes exist is not because vigilantes are criminal in their mindset. And I'm not justifying physical violence. But the reason we get this vigilante type mindset, and the reason why prosecutors and law enforcement agencies use the term vigilante, is because it has a negative connotation. They like to paint people who take into their own hands in the minds of law enforcement or the criminal justice system. They see people who take justice into their own hands and begin to say, look, if do anything, I'm going to do something. They want you to view them as negative. They want you to see them as radical. It's why they go after First Amendment auditors. That's why they go after cop watchers. They want you guys to be seen as the bad guy. They want the people who want actual justice to have any kind of footing. So they label, vigilante, extremist, soft sits, right? I mean, that's what it is. And what this boils down to is nobody's going to help us bring pressure. The media has already forgotten the story that they ran last week with the evidence that Rochester Police Department knew that there was a law enforcement officer that was a predator in their midst. They knew. They haven't apologized. They haven't apologized. The Olmsted County Sheriff hasn't apologized. They're still pressing charges against Chase. And now yesterday, they dodged a bullet. And I'm glad they dodged a bullet on this one. I really am. I'm really glad that they dodged this bullet. I'm glad that nobody else was physically victimized by this man who was caught yesterday morning victimizing people visually. But they dodged a bullet when he went and did it again without actually trying to harm somebody, to do physical harm. And we can only pray that now that he's been arrested, he's going to get incarcerated, at least in such a way so that he can never do this, never ramp up to the point where he can actually hurt somebody. But he's 24 years old, folks. This is going to escalate. And the reason why I know this is going to escalate is I spent nearly 13 years inside of an adult detention, in that very adult detention center where that man sits right now with sexual predators over and over and over and over and over again. They don't stop. They don't stop. Guys like this don't stop. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And every cop on the street in Rochester, Minnesota knew that yesterday when they let this guy go. They knew he was going to reoffend. There's no way in the world they didn't know he was going to reoffend. They had the discretion to arrest him on scene, and they chose to do something else because their track record is to not act on sexual predators until their hand is forced. And I'm going to warn you that it's going to be pretty pun heavy here as I get ready to close. But I'm hoping, that the senior officer yesterday evening showed up and pulled wank. Sorry. I hope he pulled wank. I really do. And said, no, we're not letting this happen anymore. This is it. He's going in. But I'm going to give you guys an idea of just how quickly this ramped up. Yesterday morning was a misdemeanor. Let's just say within 8 hours, he caught a felony charge, or a gross misdemeanor charge. There's no way he couldn't be charged, except for the fact that he hadn't been convicted of the other one yet. And what I'm saying to you guys, to people with channels and people who have social media, help me get this story out so we can get some pressure on Rochester PD, on Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, so that we can start getting the apologies for this track record of failing to deal with sexual predators in and amongst their staff and in and amongst the community of Rochester and Olmsted County. Some policies got to change. Something has to happen in Rochester where the chief of police sits down with his command staff and says, I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care if the mayor gets involved. I don't care if the city council gets involved. I don't care if the sheriff's on board with this on the county side of it. Right here, right now, Rochester, Minnesota Police Department is setting a new policy that says we will immediately arrest anyone that is displaying sexually predacious behavior in any form to get them secured away from the general public so that the general public can and will be safe. Because, God damn it, we have in our theory, in our mission statement, protect and serve. And as I said last night, all it looks like to me is that the only people being protected are the predators and law enforcement. Folks, this should be enraging you. This should enrage you. This should enrage everybody. Like, people, you know, and here's what gets me. Here's what really gets me. And I'll throw back to the COOF, to the virus from, you know, 2020. I had a lot of people in 2020 and into 2021 saying things like, man, I'm really starting to question, you know, who I can trust in law enforcement, right? I'm really starting to question if they're really on our side. I'm really starting to question if they will just follow orders. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm glad to see you guys coming alive. I'm glad to see you asking these questions. I wasn't asking for people to hate on law enforcement as far as hating the individuals. I believe there is now, it's way past time for us to hate the institution of policing in the United States. From the federal level with the FBI and the federal marshals all the way down to your local level. Not the individual officers, not the individual deputies, but the entire institution. I think we have to bring some hate to bear on it. And I was really excited to see people who I would have considered, you know, conservatives, you know, the Republican, back the blue at all costs types, to see them really start to ask some hard questions. And boy, they got really close to some degree. You know, now they hate the FBI because of what the FBI is doing to their boy Trump, right? They really hate the FBI. The FBI needs to be disbanded. The FBI needs to be defunded. Ironically, probably the most powerful law enforcement agency in the U.S. outside of the IRS, they're all on board. And you guys are going to get a look. Well, sort of. Nah, I guess you won't. Here, maybe. Man, maybe you can. There. You guys get... No? Try. There we go. Now you guys can get a little bit of look at downtown Spring Valley as I'm close to drawing home into my driveway. They are very, you know, they're very fired up and ready to hate on the FBI, the, you know, largest, most powerful law enforcement institution in the United States, while remaining blindly loyal to their local law enforcement agencies. And I'm watching them now come back out and pick up the chant of back to blue, back to blue, back to blue, back to blue, back to blue. And when you ask them really hard questions about why they would continue to say that, why they would continue to feel that way, they just can't answer the question. They don't seem capable of disengaging from the cognitive dissonance that says, I don't know that we need to trust or should trust them automatically or blindly. They seem to really have a hard time with that. And I'm hoping that something like what happened with RPD over the last couple of years, with the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office over the last couple of years. I'm hoping that what happened in the last 24 hours with the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department and how they screwed up with this sexual predator, I'm hoping that that'll be enough to wake these people up, because we have got to bring pressure to bear on this law enforcement organization so that they will finally change something in their policy. They can't just blindly go, well, the law says we don't have, it's a misdemeanor and you don't have to arrest on a misdemeanor. You're allowed to arrest on a misdemeanor. And sexual predation should be an automatic arrest. Automatic arrest. But you know what we see is, in the case of me at the University Center in Rochester, a year and a half ago, I got threatened with being charged for filing a false report for wanting the president to be charged with a crime for assaulting me. And I also got threatened to be charged for interference when I wasn't doing anything that met the definition of interference. They're very okay with charging people who stand up to them, but they have a hard time charging people who are actually victimizing people. So guys, I really need your help getting this pushed out. Thanks again to Flying Auditor for hitting that membership button on the channel. If you guys want to see body cam footage as I get it uploaded, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be in the membership area for some time and before I put it out publicly. And so you can membership here. You can go to my subscribe star if you don't want to use Google's system. Totally fine and understand that. Subscribe Star is a very content creator friendly platform, and I really appreciate the support. And even if you can't do a membership thing, liking this video, commenting on this video, coming back and commenting on it after you've watched it, even if it's thanks for putting this out, thanks for giving us the information, or even if it's a smart-assy comment like, TC, stop bragging about being right all the time. That's fair. I don't really like being right as often as I am. It is not as fun as everybody thinks it is. But come back and comment, share this out, put it on your social media, put it on Rochester, Minnesota Police Department's Facebook page, put it on the City of Rochester's Facebook page, put it on the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Start sending emails, and help me try to affect some change, because something's got to give. Somebody's going to get really, really hurt. Some child or some woman is going to get really hurt by a sexual predator, like really hurt by a sexual predator, and they're going to find out that RPD knew about it and didn't do a damn thing, and people are going to come unglued. And so I don't want that to happen. I don't want to see anybody else get victimized. I really don't. But we need to bring pressure. They've got to change their policy. Something has got to be put into writing to force officers to do the right thing. And we need these people to start coming out and apologizing for all the ways that they've screwed up. Guys, I really appreciate the fact that you tuned in for this. And you notice we didn't have any stall outs because I took a different route home, the route I hate the most. Just for you guys. See the things I do for you, the way I sacrifice. Do you see how I sacrifice for you? Oh. So I really do appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate that you put up with me and that you tune in. And Sarah, by the way, I'm sorry that your case deserved a lot better treatment than it got. You deserved a lot better treatment than you got. Elva Caro, I think you're right. It probably does. But I need people's help to get this story out. I really do. Because the local media is not going to cover this the way they should. I did not take the scenic route. I took the boring route. I normally take the scenic route, and that's where I lose you guys in my valleys. But I'm gonna go hit the shower and eat some shredded chicken taco. I love and respect so many of you, and have a profound level of respect for so many of you people, for putting up with me and for the things that you stand for, because a lot of you have been in this fight with me from the beginning for a very long time, and I really appreciate that. The constant viewership is much appreciated. So, my friends, until next time, fight for your freedom, it is yours. Fight for your liberty, it belongs to you. Help me make this story break. Let's put pressure on the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department and the city government. Sic Semper Tyrannis.